6:03 p.m. on September 12, 2023. I'd like to welcome you all to Richland County Council's special call meeting. The meeting will now come to order. Madam Clerk, if you would, please take the roll. Here.
Pugh.
Here.
McBride.
Here.
Livingston.
Here.
Teratio. Weaver.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
English.
Present.
Newton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Also, let the record reflect that I spoke with Councilwoman Teratio prior to this evening's meeting, and she made it clear to me that she would not be in attendance. She does have business that she's taking care of out of town this evening, and so she unfortunately would not be with us, but we certainly wish her well and safe travels. Next item on the agenda is item 2, the invocation that will be given by the Honorable Gretchen Barron. Councilwoman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let us pray.
Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this day. We thank you that this is a day that you've made and we're rejoicing and we're glad in it. And now, God, we just ask you to come into this meeting, and we thank you that as we conduct the business of the people of Richland County, that you be in the midst of all that is said, all that is done. We ask that you get the glory in all that we do. And God, we just put our personal agendas aside and we lift up those agendas of the people who brought us here. Now, God, be with us as we continue the rest of this week, and we thank you for your hand being upon us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Barron, for that moving prayer. Next item on the agenda is item 4, presentation of resolutions. This is a resolution honoring Richland County Emergency Services Department and honoring September as Emergency Preparedness Month. It looks like we have 1 resolution and 3 proclamations tonight. So to kind of streamline, I guess, this part of our agenda, I would say let's wait until all the resolutions and proclamations have been read. And then for those who are here for your respective resolution or proclamation, you can then make your way over to the county seal where you have an opportunity for a photo op with council. First one, item 4A, with this being a resolution, it would require a vote. So at this time, I entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Madam Vice Chair, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Whereas Richland County Emergency Services Department, which includes Emergency Medical Services, Emergency Management, the Fire and Enforcement Division under the Richland County Fire Marshal's Office, and the Hazardous Materials Division, is dedicated to professional and cost-effective emergency and public safety planning, preparedness programs, response, and recovery to the residents of Richland County. The mission of Richland County Emergency Services is delivered each day by dedicated emergency services professionals utilizing advanced emergency management systems and prompt, courteous service. Richland County's award-winning emergency medical service responds to more than 85,000 calls each year and has distinguished itself as one of the few nationwide programs to have a motorcycle paramedic response team. Richland County's emergency management team specializes in public safety, planning, education, and disaster preparedness. The Fire and Enforcement Division, which supports the state's largest county fire department, serving nearly 500,000 residents, manages an array of fire prevention initiatives to prevent and reduce incidents of fire by increasing the awareness of residents, contractor, businesses, and construction industry professionals. Now therefore be it resolved that Richland County Council members Jason Branham, Derek Pugh, Yvonne McBride, Paul Livingston, Allison Terratio, Don Weaver, Gretchen Barron, Overture Walker, Jessica Mackey, Cheryl English, and Shakese Newton recognize the community education, protection, and life-saving work provided by the Richland County Emergency Services Department and hereby proclaims September 2023 as Richland County Emergency Preparedness Month in honor of our outstanding emergency services personnel who provide critical service to our residents.
Next item on the agenda is item 5, presentation of proclamations. 5A, a proclamation supporting the effort of the Neighborhoods USA to host the 2024 NUSA Conference in Richland County in Columbia, South Carolina. That will be given by whom?
English.
So, you recognize, Councilwoman.
Here. A proclamation supporting the efforts of the Neighborhoods USA to host the 2024 NUSA Conference in Richland County in Columbia, South Carolina. Whereas Neighborhoods USA, NUSA,
holds its annual conference on neighborhood concerns, which attracts attendance from participants across the United States and from around the globe. And whereas NUSA has been held in different locations, such as, but not limited to, Anchorage, Alaska, Roanoke, Virginia, where attendance ranges between 600 and 2,000 participants from across the nation, dedicated to building stronger communities, and most recently, the 47th conference was held in El Paso, Texas. And whereas the annual NUSA conference has never been held in either South or North Carolina, however, it attracts attendees from local communities across the state, and whose board includes members from the county and state. And whereas Richland County and the City of Columbia have supported the Neighborhoods USA organization by being local government members, and whereas Richland County and the City of Columbia, South Carolina, are dedicated to the community of neighborhoods and recognizes how vital neighborhoods are to the success and well-being of both the city and the county. And two local governments are dedicated to attracting diverse, dedicated community leaders all across the nation to come to the Midlands region of South Carolina for its annual conference in May 2024. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Richland County Council members Jason Branham, Derek Pugh, Yvonne McBride, Paul Livingston, Allison Terratio, Don Weaver, Gretchen Barron, Jessica Mackey, Cheryl English, and Shaquise Newton support Richland County Neighborhood Councils hosting the 48th Annual National NUSA Conference on Neighborhood Concerns in May 2024.
Next item on the agenda is item 5B, a proclamation in support of obesity prevention and treatment in Richland County that would be given by the Honorable Overture Walker. A proclamation in support of obesity prevention and treatment, whereas the obesity healthcare concerns in the United States has led to the loss of thousands of lives annually, creating a significant public health predicament that calls for distinct attention, and whereas the financial impact of the obesity health concern has severely affected communities across our state and nation, necessitating a concerted effort to look at options to revitalize the citizens of our region. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention declared obesity an epidemic in 1999, and since then the prevalence of obesity has continued to increase, making it the second leading cause of death in the country. And whereas obesity-related medical expenses have significantly escalated, with annual medical care costs estimated to increase by $2,868 per person in Medicare and Medicaid due to obesity-related health issues, contributing to an annual cost of $147 billion to the U.S. healthcare system, which is equivalent to 9.3% of the U.S. gross domestic product. And whereas South Carolina is experiencing an alarming increase in obesity rates, with over 44% of adults in the state living with obesity, emphasizing the need of effective interventions, and whereas treating obesity has the potential to reduce the incidence of obesity-related diseases, thereby lowering healthcare costs, and now therefore be it proclaimed that Richland County Council members Jason Branham, Derek Pugh, Yvonne McBride, Paul Livingston, Don Weaver, Gretchen Barron, Overture Walker, Cheryl English, and Shaquise Newton hereby recognize obesity as a significant public health concern that needs decisive and coordinated attention to address its impact on our communities. In item 5C, a proclamation recognizing Miranda Gold Spivey's retirement that will be given by the Honorable Jessica Mackey. Madam Vice Chair, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A proclamation recognizing Miranda Gold Spivey's retirement. Miranda Gold Spivey grew up in Richland County, South Carolina, attended W.J. Keenan High School, the University of South Carolina, and the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. Miranda began her career with Richland County in 1998 as a Code Enforcement 1/Fire Marshal. While working for Richland County, she obtained her master's degree in criminal justice. After joining Richland County, Miranda was selected to provide fire and life safety programs to Richland County residents. On September 7, 2002, she was promoted to Division Manager / Chief Deputy Fire Marshal. And on May 21, 2022, She was promoted to Assistant Director of the Emergency Services Department. Throughout her career, Miranda developed numerous life safety, disaster, and recovery programs for Richland County residents. Miranda worked on major projects, including recovery projects for the 2015 flood and the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program that distributed more than $40 million to Richland County residents fiscally impacted by the pandemic. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Richland County Councilmember Jessica Mackey recognizes the service that Ms. Miranda Gold-Spivey provided to the people of Richland County on her 25 years of service and congratulates her on her retirement.
Years of service, man, she almost got Mr. Livingston beat. Wow. Yeah. I tell you. All right, well, let's begin. Let's begin with, those who are here for the resolution related to the Emergency Services Department.
Thank you, members of council, for this recognition. Our men and women work very hard every day, and especially during the disaster or pending disaster. So on behalf of all of our men and women, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Burke, you were her department head?
Councilwoman English, Chairs Mackey and Walker, it's my great honor not only to accept this proclamation, but also to share the very good news that some of you may have heard, but as of this past Friday, the City of Columbia in Richland County was in fact designated the host site for the 2024 NUSA Conference, bringing the Neighborhoods USA Conference to the Carolinas for the first time ever. Thank you for your support. Of course, we're going to be coming back to you to talk about hospitality funds. But more than anything else, this is not only a victory for Richland County Neighborhood Council in Richland County, but this is a victory for everybody who works every day to make their neighborhoods the special places that they are. Thank you so much.
I'll keep this brief. I just want to thank Chairman Walker, the rest of Richland County Council for this recognition and then continuance to treat and reduce obesity. This is a huge step in this fight. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Walker, your microphone.
Apologies. There we go, that's better. Next item on the agenda is item 6, approval of the minutes. This is from the special call meeting, August 29th, 2023. Any changes, additions, or deletions to the minutes? There being none, entertain a motion.
Move approve, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride, Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 7, adoption of the agenda. Any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda? You
Chair.
recognize Mr. Wright?
Yes, there are a couple of amendments requested. The first is, I'd like to amend the agenda to add Alvinus Glen Detention Center update to section 8, as well as amend section 14B and 17A, changing the word amending to revising. And regarding 14B, it was noticed for 7 o'clock, so to move that after section 20 to make sure that before that public hearing for 14B, that it's actually 7 o'clock.
Okay, so let's start with your first request to amend the agenda. The Alvinus Glen Detention Center update, I'm assuming that would be legal advice or what have you?
Yes,
Okay, and that would be item 8D. And then now it would be item 8D. And then with respect to item 14B, remove the word amending the zoning map to, you said revising
yes,
the zoning map? And then rather than 14B, that item really should be I guess you would say item 21?
Yes.
Okay, so we make that item 21 instead. Item 21, which is executive session, becomes item 22.
Right. And also 17A, which is the same thing regarding the maps, change the same word from amending to revising.
What was that again?
17A.
17A. So help me out here, Mr. Wright. So the public hearing can't be held until
7
until
p.m.
7 o'clock, but we're still safe to proceed with voting on the first reading, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Also, with item 14D now becoming item 21, it looks like executive session becomes 22, motion period becomes 23, and adjournment becomes 24. All right, any further additions or amendments, changes to the agenda? There being none, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Move to adopt with noted changes.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride. Yes. Livingston. Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 8, report of the attorney for executive session items. Mr. Wright, you recognize, sir.
Yes, we have 4 items for executive session. First, personnel matter, county attorney contract pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70, subsection A1. Second item, legal options regarding funding for capital projects and transportation projects pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70, subsection A2 and 5. And the third one, MPG Arden LLC versus Richland County et al. Road closure petition pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70, subsections A2 and D, Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center update.
All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70, subsection A2.
All right, do any of these items have outside counsel?
Yes.
Okay, which?
B, 8B, and yeah, just 8B.
B?
Yes.
This question for my colleagues would be, do you prefer to go in executive session solely, this first one solely for, item 8B, or do we want to take up all items in executive session?
Mr. Chairman, in lieu of how many folks we have here tonight, I'd say we just do the one item so we can get back here and get through the public hearings.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, what is the motion?
The motion is, sorry, Councilman Weaver, it was your motion. Go ahead.
Just that we do the one
Item 8B?
item, right, with outside counsel in executive session so we can move it along and get back here.
Okay.
That may
I
not be
second.
worded exactly correct, but
I second the motion.
It was just for the record, Mr. Weaver. I promise you I was not being a smart aleck. Okay? All right. So moved and properly second. Any discussion? There being none. All right, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride. Yes. Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, we're now in executive session.
So moved.
I need a second. It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the roll.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh. Yes. McBride. Yes. Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Let the record reflect that we went into executive session with regards to item 8B, legal options regarding funding for capital projects and transportation projects. That was pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70, subsection A2 and A5, which involved outside counsel. We accepted or received rather legal advice and no action was taken. Next item on the agenda is item 9, citizens input. For items on the agenda not requiring a public hearing, Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak? Sure, go ahead.
No, Mr. Chair.
Next item on the agenda is item 10, citizens input must pertain to Richland County matters not on the agenda. Items for which a public hearing is required or a public hearing has been scheduled cannot be addressed at this time. Madam Vice Chair, anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 8 individuals that have signed up to speak this evening. All right, the first individual, since we have 8, I'm going to call 2 names at a time. If you, one could go to one mic and one to the other. As a reminder, when you come, please state your first and last name as well as your address. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak. You'll hear a timer that'll sound, and please know that that is your time, and we request that you stop talking at that time. Also, just remember when speaking tonight that we do not allow for folks to mention council members or staff by name and derogatory comments. So please be polite and professional in your response and sharing your feedback. First is Billy Sanders. And then Ms. Blackwell. Your 2 minutes, you give, go ahead, yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Billy Sanders. I live at 1133 Ridge Road. Next to me is 1113 Ridge Road, which is 192 acres. Behind that 192 acres, there's 87 acres. Dr. 13 came down here this summer, 2022, and he spoke about that piece of property, those 2 pieces of property, on how fragile they are and the part that they play for the ecosystem. So we came up with a good idea. A nature preserve, as you were, a nature preserve. If you look at it, the nature preserve, you could get to it off of Ridge Road. The nature preserve, you could get to it off Ridge Road. This would be the parking area here. Right at the parking area, you will have your restroom. Your restroom right in there. As you can see, you got a lot of different walking trails and bike trail. Altogether, we have over 10 miles of walking and bike trail. The shortest trail would be here, which would be, that would be 0.2 miles, and that would be like a monument for veterans. That is the highest point on that piece of property. Actually, it's the highest point in Hopkins all the way to the coast. Along with that, if you look at this poster, everything that you see on the side here is on those 2 pieces of property. So we're here to ask y'all to purchase this property so we can make this a nature preserve. We know the funds is there. And here's the reason why. This is a win-win situation. First of all, property value will go up, not go down. Veterans will be remembered, not forgotten. This is what everybody wants out in this community, thousands of people. And not only that, it will save Cedar Creek, Congaree National Park, it will save the wildlife habitat, it will save our habitat. So we asking that y'all look at this with an open heart and an open mind and help us make this happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Blackwell? You have, Ms. Blackwell, you have 2 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Mike Blackwell. I'm at 4600 Old Leesburg Road in Hopkins. And I would also like to request Richland County purchase the properties off of Ridge Road in Hopkins to establish the Cedar Creek Nature Preserve. As we all know, green spaces like nature preserves have a multitude of benefits. Studies have shown they increase long-term economic growth, support plant and animal biodiversity and wildlife connectivity. They regulate our climate, improve our air and water quality, and minimize erosion and flooding. Nature preserves also offer a place where children and adults can learn about our natural world, its interconnectedness, and the importance to our own existence. They improve physical health by preventing obesity, reducing stress, lowering blood pressure, and improving overall mood, even lowering some cancer risks. But you should also know nature preserves strengthen social cohesion by offering a range of activities that provide opportunities for communities to come together. Activities such as walking, biking, bird watching, and so much more. That is what makes this nature preserve even more special. It will connect 4 different subdivisions. Thousands of Lower Richland residents will have direct access, allowing them to explore and connect with nature and each other. It will be an extension of their neighborhood. Not only will this nature preserve help improve residents' health, protect wildlife, water, and air quality, it will bring folks together. Lower Richland has historically endured a multitude of environmental injustices. Please help turn this around by making positive investments in Lower Richland, starting by supporting this nature preserve. Thank you.
Thank you. So I was just informed by our county attorney that our rules state that when speaking during public comment, you are not allowed to request public funds or ask for money. So those that are signed up to speak moving forward, if you could modify any language that you may have in your speech that requests for public funds during your comment period. Thank you. Next is Jennifer Mankey and Richard Noble.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Mankey and I live at 320 Clearview Drive in Hopkins. My purpose is to speak on the impact of the South Carolina Green Infrastructure Plan. The South Carolina Forestry Commission, the Councils of Government, and the Green Infrastructure Center, under the direction of the United States Forestry Commission, developed the South Carolina Green Infrastructure Plan. The Habitat Corps and Corridors Initiative provides the focus of the South Carolina Forestry Commission framework, stressing the importance of working across boundaries of government and conservation to ensure planning strategy compliance, thereby allowing for habitat conservation and connectivity via natural landscape corridors. The Council of Government Priority Areas map identifies the Ridge Road Horrell Hill area as a priority habitat core. Additionally, areas of Lower Richland spanning from Fort Jackson to Congaree National Park are identified as development areas of high risk. This designation of priority habitat core aligns with the research of 5 Clemson University professors regarding sustainability of the Congaree biosphere. Strategies protecting green infrastructure habitat cores developed by state agencies and the councils of government include, counties should use information from the priority areas map in comprehensive planning for natural assets and green infrastructure. Rural communities should establish zoning guided by habitat cores and corridors to protect natural areas. Counties should create zoning overlay districts for important corridors to require wider buffers and other means of restoration and protection of the corridor. Habitat cores and corridors data should guide regional land planning decisions, and counties should pass conservation division ordinances with incentives to encourage this type of development. We hope you will use this information to understand the importance of protecting the property at 1113 Ridge Road. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, we can't have the clapping. So I know it's so many rules, I promise you. But no, we can't have the clapping. We have a few more people we need to get through, so thank you.
Good evening. I'm Richard Noble, and I live at 1391 Ridge Road. This evening, I will speak about a significant economic impact of the proposed nature preserve in Lower Richland County. For the past 37 years, I have lived on Ridge Road with my wife, Janet. But in addition to living in Lower Richland County for the past 4 decades, both Janet and I were officers in the South Carolina Air National Guard. For the final 6 years I was in the unit, I was the base commander at McEntire Joint National Guard Base. During the years I commanded this installation, I was acutely aware the most significant danger to the existence of this installation was encroachment by higher density housing within the community. The United States Department of Defense holds periodic base realignment and closure commissions called BRAC. These commissions study the viability of every installation in the United States and then issue a list of bases to close. We were subject to several of these studies during my tenure as a pilot and commander of McEntire. We were not placed on the closure committee for 2 reasons. We had a stellar performance record, and McEntire was in a distinctly rural location. We in Richland County now have an opportunity to create a permanent nature preserve directly off the end of the runway at McEntire and completely within its airport traffic area. The nature preserve would clearly demonstrate Richland County's desire to protect the rural nature of this critical zone for McEntire. I have provided copies of McEntire's economic impact for fiscal year 2022. Currently, McEntire contributes over $190 million to Central South Carolina every year. Protecting this massive economic impact only adds to the benefits of creating this nature preserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John, is it Lagoo? Logue. Apologize. And Jennifer, I'm guessing Sanchez, I can't read it. Sanders. You would state your first and last name, sir,
Sure.
address. You have 2 minutes.
My name's John Logue. I live at 108 San Carlos Court, which is about a half mile from the site that we're talking about. I'll talk a little bit this evening about the importance of this to the educational values of the community and to the schools that are around there. Due to a more than 40-year career as a biology ecology professor, first with Clemson University and later with the University of South Carolina, I developed close relationships with many public and private school administrators and teachers. Many of those have been students in my classes. Through this connection, I was asked to consult with a number of schools as they sought to develop natural areas for use as outdoor space for observing local ecosystems and better understanding biological principles. As these resources were established, other disciplines also began to use the site. Each of the 5 schools I worked with had the luxury of contiguous undeveloped property. There are 5 public schools with little or no access to such areas within a 5-mile radius of the site that we're proposing for the Cedar Creek Nature Preserve. The preserve would be low maintenance with easily navigated walking trails, which would access numerous plant communities and ecological features within the area. We can provide online maps with species lists for flora and fauna, plus descriptions of geologic, edaphic, hydrologic, and natural history features so that they would be available to individual visitors as well as to those instructors who were preparing plans for field trips. The site would be only a 5-minute or less bus ride away from all of these schools. If you're not familiar with the value of such spaces to educational processes.
That is your time, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
All right. My name is Jennifer Sanders, and I live at 1133 Ridge Road. Good afternoon, Richland County Council. I am here in support of the Cedar Creek Nature Preserve. Please raise your hand if you're here in support of the Nature Preserve. We represent Lower Richland. Thousands of homes are being built on Leesburg Road and Lower Richland Boulevard. All around us, thousands of homes are being built. There's no place for a natural outdoor recreation. Lower Richland wants their fair share of greenways. Please allocate resources from the penny tax, hospitality tax, or other resources to create the Cedar Creek Nature Preserve at 1113 Ridge Road.
Yeah. Just wanted to reiterate that you're not allowed to request funds during your speaking. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, resources are, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Next is Petra Turner and Tyler Turner. All right. Thank you. Mr. Chair, that concludes all individuals that signed up to speak this evening.
Next item on the agenda is item 11, report of the county administrator. Mr. Brown, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. Impact page 16 of your packet. Start off with some updates for consideration. Later this month, or maybe early October, I'll be providing you some information that we have received in a formal packet, but wanted to let you know that the Columbia Convention Center CEO Bill Ellen reached out to me, wanted to let me know he was going to be requesting that the county consider providing some funds from the tourism development fee that we collect, that was previously collected to pay off some bond indebtedness related to the convention center. So once I receive that information from him, I will provide you the formal request, but wanted you to know that that is coming your way. Additionally, I have received an inquiry to purchase the property located on 1221 Gregg Street. Many of you may recall that is the former probation, pardon, and parole facility.
Brown, if you don't mind, let me interrupt you just for a second. You have multiple items on here, so before you get, well, you're already on that item, but just want to ask, does anyone, anyone from the body has any questions regarding item 1, regarding the Convention Center Tourism Development Fee request, before he moves on to item 2? Ms. Barron and then Ms. Newton, if you don't mind, Mr. Brown.
No, sir, I don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Brown, the request that is being made, they're requesting funds that are already presently set aside. Is that what I understand you to say?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Newton?
In line with that, I'm happy to take my answer offline, but I would appreciate if there could be some sort of email or primer on the tourism development fee, because that's not something that I've dealt with a lot because those funds were previously allocated. So if we could just get some education on that before we get that request, it would be helpful.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. Those funds that are being set aside, are they specific to the convention center, or is it a general pot of money?
It's a general pot of money that was collected for related to accommodations tax in the unincorporated areas of Richland County.
All right. Mr. Brown, continue on.
Yes, sir. So the second item is a property request. Someone approached me interested in purchasing property from the county. That property is located at 1221 Gregg Street and represents basically the property that the old probation, pardon, and parole building sits on. As we talked about before, related to when I get these inquiries, first step for me is to bring it to the council to make you aware. So from there, a council member may make a motion for that item to be done something with. And then from that process, then we'll go through the regular committee process. But I wanted you to know that, again, I've received a request. We'll be providing you at the next meeting more details of that, but wanted you to know that I have received our inquiry into that property. What questions may I answer, Mr.
Questions
Chair?
from the body? Mr. Brown, if I heard you correctly, you said this pertains to the property where probation, parole, and pardons is located or was once located?
Was once located.
Okay, so they're no longer in that building.
Yes, sir. The building is currently vacant. The interested parties have viewed the building. They have made some specific requests, which I'll provide that to you in detail. But I wanted you to know, again, as a heads up, to give you an opportunity to consider that information, make any potential actions you wanted, but you will receive the details of that.
I have another question, and if you're not at liberty to answer this question right now, I certainly understand, but is the inquiry from, I guess, a private entity?
The inquiry, I believe, is from a private entity.
An opportunity for us to potentially get this property on the tax rolls?
That is my understanding, yes, sir.
Okay.
And as a part of that process, I do tell the interested parties to speak with the council members who are representing that community. My understanding is that that action has taken place as a part of that process.
Okay, Ms. English and Ms. McBride grabbed her microphone, but she hadn't raised her hand, so I anticipate she has a question or comment. So after Ms. English, then Ms. McBride. I pay attention to you, Ms. McBride, just in case you didn't know.
I have a question, and I think I need to ask it in executive session, but I wanted to make sure that I could ask it in executive session. It's concerning this, but it is concerning attorney advice.
Right?
Yes, you can ask questions, you just can't make determinations or take an action.
It's
in
just a
executive
clarification, but I need it in executive session.
Yes, you can ask a question in executive session.
Thank you, sir. I'll wait. Thank you,
Ms.
Chair.
McBride?
Mr. Chair, I'll just hold my comments later, and we'll address the
Oh, don't hold your comments, Ms. McBride.
I think better if I held them later.
All right. Ms. Barron?
Thank you. So Administrator Brown, is I think when we addressed a similar situation with the property, there were properties that were listed like on a list that we wanted to, a surplus list, I think it was called, or some list, a surplus list that we were considering to sell, and there was another list. Which list is this property on?
So
Do you recall?
We talked about developing that with each council member relative to their districts. That has not been done. So this property is not sitting on a surplus list. It has not been deemed a surplus, but it is an unused property that we're not currently using because probation, pardon, and parole left that facility to move out of it. And so it is a property that we currently hold right now that we're not using.
That we haven't classified one way or the other?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
How long has probation, parole, and pardons been gone from that location, Mr. Brown?
Not sure the exact time, but it's within the last couple of years.
Last couple of years.
Yes, sir.
A couple of years, but it's been longer than that? Okay. Any other questions regarding this item for Mr. Brown? And Mr. Brown, do you need any action from council tonight, or this is just for information only?
It's just for information only as a part of this process because it is received from an outside party. I notify you of that information, and then you have the ability to take any action or to receive it as information. I shouldn't say traditionally, but in the past, what has happened is you've been noticed. A following meeting, a member may make a motion to have the item sent to committee. Then the committee takes up the consideration, and it kind of goes on from there as every other committee council consideration.
I continue on.
The third item listed under updates for consideration is notification that the week of October 1st through the 4th will be the South Carolina Jail Administrators Association Conference. So I will be attending that conference. Wanted you to be aware of that. That Tuesday will be a scheduled council meeting. I plan on attending that meeting virtually, but I wanted you to know my whereabouts and specifically what world I will be attending.
Learn from the body about Mr. Brown's whereabouts the week of October 1st through the 4th. All right. The vice chair has a question.
Thank you. Would anyone else from your staff or from the jail staff also be attending?
That is correct. Good question. So the director will be attending. The director of the detention center will be attending that association conference. And I'm not sure right now whether or not the compliance director will be attending. We have not had the discussion as that's a brand new potential person coming on.
Thank you.
Go on, Mr. Brown.
Item number 4, the capital projects work session. We were actually able to have that work session on today. This item was placed on the agenda in the anticipation of in the coming weeks, we will be requesting to have this work session. Because there was a change in the schedule with economic development, we were actually able to have that work session on today. If there is a additional need for a work session, that certainly continues to be available. But the capital projects, as we went through today, ultimately I will be making a recommendation. It is my recommendation as the administrator that we approve the movement forward with those projects as presented in the capital projects work session, which we were actually able to have today, even though I anticipated having it at a later time.
Oh, I have a motion. I would move to authorize the administrator to proceed with the funding necessary to complete the construction of voting registration and elections, as well as the Family Services Center and the maintenance and upkeep of the Alvinus Glen Detention Center.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? Ms. Newton, you're recognized.
Thank you, and your motion may have addressed my question, but it was essentially, is all that is needed from council approval of the funding mechanism?
So that allows us to then bring the necessary ordinances to go along with that. But yes, ma'am, that gets us started. So with this, if you approve this, 2 things will happen. The first thing is that we will then go out to solicit a design build for the Family Services Center. We will continue the maintenance and upkeep at Alvinus Glen Detention Center. And related to the Family Services Center, we will then also begin to get the funding mechanism to you, which is the 3 readings and a public hearing related to an ordinance for the funding. So the answer to your question is yes, but that's what happens with that yes.
Okay, and then just as part of this discussion period, let me just applaud your efficiency getting that meeting scheduled today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Newton.
Thank you. I did have a question related to, kind of the information we received earlier. I'm not sure if it is something that happens in the RFP process or if we'll be involved any further. But when we look at kind of aesthetics, they mentioned like images and art and stuff on the wall. I would like somehow to have an opportunity to include local artists' participation in any of that design. And so I'm not sure if that's information that needs to be included in the RFP or if we'll see that before it goes out. So I didn't want the process to go too far without me mentioning that.
Well, thank you for stating that. We did work with the team, and it was our understanding that some of that, work or aesthetics would be coming to you, as they sort of mentioned some of it, in the form of asking for your input. I've heard you now say you want local artists, but the bottom line is, as council, you will have input as to those aesthetics that will look on the outside and the inside of the facility.
You recognize Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if I understood you correctly, we're going to vote tonight on these projects, on what we just heard in the work session?
Correct. We're going to vote tonight for Mr. Brown, administration to proceed with actually, I guess, starting the process for obtaining the funding, if you will. So the ways, well, I understand that this is going to be paid for is the county would initially borrow the money, however, through bonds, but is going to be paid back through the debt millage. And so in order for us to pay it back through the debt millage, that's going to require an ordinance, right? And so that means 3 readings and a public hearing. So this just jump starts the process. Does that make sense?
So we're just telling him to get started tonight on the ordinance?
Pretty much.
But we still have 3 votes for full passage?
That's right. That's right. So it's, the ordinance has to come back before us for 3 readings and a public hearing.
I need time to get through some of this stuff. I mean, I just had some of this stuff tonight, so.
After 3 readings and a public hearing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure.
Yeah. Got to keep pushing. All right. Mr. Brown, did I explain that correctly, or yes, I want to make sure I didn't misspeak?
You spoke correctly. We need the money to do the project, so without your approval of ultimately the bond, then we would not be able to proceed with the projects of the Family Services Center, voter registration and elections, and the upkeep on the.
Mr. Weaver.
Okay, I'm sorry, one more question. So if we voted an amount tonight, can we still change the amount later in the ordinance if we decide not to pursue one of these, or is it cast in stone tonight on the amount we're voting on?
You're not voting on the amount tonight, so we're not voting on the amount
We're
tonight?
not voting on the amount? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, I'm good.
This is just to get the process started. At some point, when the ordinance comes before us, if you decide, Mr. Weaver, like, hey, we ought to pay less, you can always make a motion, move to amend. Whether or not that passes, I don't know.
How did you know I was going there, Mr. Chair?
I've only been doing this 3 years, so. Question for you, Mr. Brown. My motion originally just encompassed voting registration and elections, the Family Services Center, and the maintenance and upkeep of the Alvinus Glen Detention Center. Does that also need to include DJJ?
Yes, sir, because the what we presented to you was that as the build out.
Sure. So I amend my own motion, Mr. Wright?
Is your motion so you can, I guess, restate it, but it would need.
It's already been seconded, so that's why I'm asking about.
Right, you would need another second to change it.
Okay. Should ask the person to hold on to their second, Mr. Livingston? Well, let me just move to amend my motion. The original motion include the Department of Juvenile Justice as well. Is that sufficient, Mr. Wright?
Yes, but I think you need a second before you vote.
Second.
It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride. Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes?
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. Is reconsideration necessary, Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Move to reconsider.
Second.
Properly second discussion. Mr. Wright, you recognized.
No, I was just thinking, because it's not actually a final action, because the final actions won't be until you actually get the ordinances, you don't really have to reconsider at this point, because it's not the final action.
Withdrawn. Brown, continue on.
The next item under updates for consideration is the Prisma Health Medical Scholars Program. I received an invitation to participate in this program. It is a program that's held in October. The Health Medical Scholars Program is designed to educate community leaders about the innovative work to transform healthcare and how it impacts you and or the business industry, as well as offer the opportunity to learn more about local and national healthcare strategy. The program offers leaders the opportunity to get to know the Prisma Health Executive Leadership Team and network with other community leaders. The program date, so these programs happen every Friday beginning October the 6th. And so I will be participating in that program. And again, just wanted to give you all a heads up on that program that I've been invited to participate in and let you know what that program is outlined to do. What questions may I answer for you related to my participation in that program?
Body. Go on, Mr. Brown.
The next items are on the agenda because they take some sort of special action because of their, in this case, both of these are time-sensitive related requests. So these are items that are come to the body that routinely might go through a committee council process, a council committee process, but because of the timing, the requests are before the full council rather than the council committee. The first item is the Utilities Department project. It is a continuation of the work that has been done related to the wastewater treatment plant. And the reason why it's before you is because McIntyre has requested that this project be completed so that they could be within their fiscal year. The staff recommends approval of the award in the McIntyre wastewater treatment plant closure project to AAA Utility and Construction LLC, consistent with the information in your packet. And again, it's before you now because of the timeliness of McIntyre's request that we move forward with this within their fiscal year.
Questions? Second. Properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
On, Mr. Brown?
Mr. Chair, the last and final item for my report is also an administrator's nomination item. This item comes from the Richland County Voter Registration and Elections Office and is in reference to their proposed retention schedule modification. We received a request from the office that proposes a modification to its retention schedule of certain records without a permanent retention schedule to which would allow them to change their retention schedule from 24 months to 22 months. The proposed modification is in accordance with the recommendations of the State Ethics Commission, and again is a approval request from the Voter Registrations and Elections Office and its director, who I believe is also here to answer questions about this, but it is a time-sensitive request because this will allow them to modify their schedule in advance of the upcoming election so that they will be able to move forward without having to retain that additional information. So that's why we're receiving the request. And that's why the request is before you at this time.
I'm going to ask a stupid question, and maybe I should know, but need you to educate me. Why do we need to vote on this? Why does it require a council vote?
Mr. Chair, I think I can respond to that.
Not that I'm opposed to it, but I'm just curious.
Why this particular matter has to come before county council is because the state body that deals with voter registration and elections didn't do it statewide, so each individual county, it has to go before each individual county. So it could have been done by the state body, so it would be required by all counties in the state, but it has to be done county by county because they chose not to do that.
Ms. Barron?
Yeah, I just want to, and I'm not gonna get on the stupid train, but but I will say
Room for one passenger. I'm already on there.
I'm not getting on that train, but I do.
And avoid our wrecks.
But I do have a concern, like so. And I say that with all the love in my heart, Chair,
I know
Mr.
that,
Chair.
Ms. Barron.
We don't govern over the election commission. Sometimes these waters get muddied, and this seems like it's one. So, clear the water for us.
I would love to clear the water for you, but I don't think I can clear the water because I think the complete process is a muddy process. But that's basically what it is that they have required each individual council to go to their county councils to get this done because they won't do it on the state level.
And so, I'm sorry, Ms. Barron, you still?
I'm done.
All right.
And I need
Ms.
a motion,
McBride,
Mr. Chair?
is a motion, I'm assuming so.
I moved to accept the proposed retention schedule modification.
Second?
Second.
Properly second. Discussion? Ms. Mackey?
Sorry, just so I'm clear, is this modification schedule written somewhere publicly in some ordinance, or is what? Am I misunderstanding? Would you please state your name for the record and who you're with?
Travis Alexander, Director of Voter Registration for Richland County.
Is this modification schedule listed somewhere?
This is a South Carolina, so South Carolina Archives has a retention schedule for counties. So it is already set up for 24 months that South Carolina Archives has. And if you want to do a modification, if any county wants to do a modification, which is just going down to 22 months to prepare for the next election, as was said, each county has to write up 22 months and write up the same items. So you'll see the same items listed as far as what goes into election. So the destroy date just changed to 22 months.
We're voting on this language to be updated in another document that we don't maintain somewhere else. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Alexander, we're not giving you a hard time. We're just trying to make sense of it. That's all.
It'll be maintained by the South Carolina Archives. So their director requests that we get it signed by the body here.
Got it. You recognize Ms. Barron?
So, is this retention plan specific to the election commission, or is it specific to Richland County? Because you're saying that if the archives, that puts a whole nother spin on things. So is it specific to you, or is this a change that will impact the entire county in how we keep our records?
It only affects Richland County voter registration records.
I just would like to have that clear, because it just seems like if it's coming from that location, it does concern me that it's that specific to you all.
So if you get to this page, I don't know what page this is in your packet, but Part 1, office.
It's page 25, Mr. Chair.
Okay, page 20.
And so if you go to that second page, right after that, you'll see all of the numbers that South Carolina Archives has the records listed as, that 18714 to 18715. These are the only records that it affects, which is only in our department.
Thank you. That was very helpful, because I could just, in my mind, I'm thinking how this decision could really impact us, and we weren't aware of what we were doing.
Brett Alexander, while we have you there, what's the significance behind going from 24 to 22 months?
So I got here in April. One of the locations that we had to keep our own retention, I guess like most other county departments here. The location that we have is packed, it's filled up. Obviously, we have a Senate 19 election coming up. We've had several municipal special elections. So that room is getting packed out. So what that does is 2 months before that next big election, it allows us to remove those items. And then now, when November comes around, it's open in the space where we can now put the other items into that area for retention purposes.
Pretty much we've been asked to vote to allow you all to clear more space for additional records.
Yes, sir.
More time to clear space.
Yeah,
Before the next election, right. That's
So we
what
go
it
through all that to just find out. That's all the ask is for. All right. Thank you, Director Alexander.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, any additional discussion?
No, sir.
There being none, as Mr. Livingston has made abundantly clear. So, Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Mr. Brown, do you know if items B, 1, and 2 need to be reconsidered?
Yes, they do, Mr. Chair.
Move to reconsider.
All right, second. All right, is there any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote. And to be clear, this is a motion for reconsideration for items B, 1, and 2.
Brenham,
No.
Pugh,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Weaver,
No.
Barron,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey,
No.
English,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Brown?
That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Brown. Item 12, report of the Clerk of Council. Madam Clerk, you recognized.
There are no report at this time.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 13, report of the chair. At this time, the chair does not have any updates or announcements for the body. Next item on the agenda is item 14, our open, closed public hearings. Item 14A, ordinance amending the Richland County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, licenses, and miscellaneous business regulations by amending the business license class schedule table and the business license schedule rates table so as to make conforming changes. That public hearing is now open. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
No, Mr. Chair.
That public hearing is now closed. Next item on the agenda is item 15, approval of consent items. Ms. Newton, are you there when I need you?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I forgot we moved that one item. We moved that item to item 21.
That's correct.
So that's why I wasn't quite ready. Mr. Chair,
Recognized.
move to approve items 15A through E.
There's a second.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. No discussion required since these are the consent items. So, Madam Clerk, take the roll. Not the roll, the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Items need to be reconsidered since it's third reading for all of them, it appears.
Move to reconsider.
Second.
All right, it's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? All right. And for the record, that is a motion to reconsider items 15A through E. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham.
No.
Pugh.
No.
McBride.
No.
Livingston.
No.
Weaver.
No.
Barron.
No.
Walker.
No.
Mackey. English.
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Item on the agenda is item 16, second reading item. An ordinance amending the Richland County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 15, Libraries by amending Section 15-2 so as to authorize the County Library Board to recommend one employee of the library system to the County Council to serve as a member of the county's First Steps Partnership, and Chapter 2, Administration by amending Section 2-332 so as to recognize the Richland County First Steps Partnership Board. I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 17. This is the first reading item, 17A, an ordinance of the County Council of Richland County, South Carolina, revising the zoning map of unincorporated Richland County, South Carolina to change the zoning designation for all real property located in the unincorporated areas of Richland County as described herein. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Recognize Mr. Branham.
Just point of clarification, so when's the open, closed public hearing on this item?
That was moved to item 21. And so
Okay.
we have the first reading tonight, and then we're going to have the public hearing after the
Okay.
first reading. So
Thank you.
that'll take place later in the, on the agenda.
Okay, and then just a second clarification to the county attorney, if that's
Go
okay?
ahead, absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't catch it in the ordinance that's in the packet, but maybe it's in the interim procedures ordinance, but I want to confirm if we vote yes and the revised map is adopted, the effective date of that revised map wouldn't be until after we had an opportunity to vote on the text amendments proposed by the Planning Commission.
That's correct. That's the plan. Currently, there is no effective date in the ordinance. That will be on the third reading. You would determine what the effective date would be. And it's my understanding that, the body intends for that to be, to take effect the same date as the text amendments, when they would take effect.
All right, thank you. I'm happy to make that motion.
So, properly seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Newton, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues and all of the faces that I recognize for saying this one more time for the record, that the process that we're doing tonight of amending the maps is what allows us to complete the first pass at the Land Development Code so that subsequently we can make those text amendments. So this is essentially an administrative procedure, or as it was put to me by one of my constituents today, some red tape that we are wrapping around this so that we can get our Land Development Code completed once and for all. So again, after this vote and these three readings, council will return again to those text amendments. So this is just an interim legal procedure that is required.
Right.
Yep, just want to say that, and the first reading for the text amendments will be the same night as the third reading of the maps. So.
Additional discussion or questions? Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Branham.
Yes.
Pugh.
No.
McBride.
No.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
No.
Barron.
No.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 17B, an ordinance affirming the provisions of ordinance number 58-16 HR related to the Office of Small Business Opportunity. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved properly second. Any discussion? Mr. Brown, I have a question on this item. If I recall correctly, I believe the aim of this item is to move the Office of Small Business Opportunity from underneath procurement and so that it reports directly to you, right?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
All right, could you kind of explain what, I guess, the logic behind that, as well as, you know, I guess, the upside to doing it? Not saying I'm opposed to it, but I had this question at the last meeting, but I didn't get around to asking it. Could you talk a little bit about, I guess, why this has been recommended?
Mr. Chair, the best way I can describe it is the committee made it clear that this is the action that they wanted to take. So I don't want to speak on behalf of the committee. In terms of what this provides access to, me directly overseeing that department, I certainly will give them my direct attention. But again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the committee. The reason that the committee made this decision was because there were multiple ordinances, and there was a question as to whether or not which ordinance was the one that was in effect. The county attorney said to the committee, and it's basically saying to council tonight, you decide what you want to be in effect. The committee said, we want them to report directly to you. Therefore, we're going to make this motion so that this ordinance that we're looking at here is the ordinance that we want to be in effect now, where they report directly to you. So that's how it got back to the council tonight, because the committee's desire is to affirm they want the Office of Small Business to report directly under the county administrator.
Okay. Councilman Pugh,
Yes, sir.
you recognize?
Sir, well, we actually would like for, to put, so we making a motion again?
No. Well, I thought you had something.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was actually giving Mr. Brown the nod, saying that he explained it correctly.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Any additional questions or discussion on this item? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item on the agenda is item 18, report of the Economic Development Committee that will be given by the Honorable Paul Livingston. Councilman Livingston, you recognize.
Item 18A, a resolution clarifying property located at 2450 Sharp Road as abandoned building site pursuant to South Carolina Abandoned Building Revitalization Act, Title 12, Chapter 67, for the Code of Laws of South Carolina of 76, as amended, and the committee's recommendation was for approval.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any discussion or questions? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
That completes the report of the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, Councilman. Next item on the agenda is item 19, report of the Community Impact Grants Committee. That will be given by the Honorable Jessica Mackey. Madam Vice Chair, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Community Impacts Grant Committee recommends approving the community partners' requested amount that is shown on page 67 of your packet. That total amount comes to $913,000, $913,500,000.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any questions or discussion? You recognize Ms. McBride?
Yes, sir. I would like to know, remind me of what specific criteria was used to identify the community partners.
You recognize Ms. Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The community partners shown on page 67 were made during the Community Impact Grant Committee meeting. These organizations were done through motion made by council members, by organizations that they felt have been long-term staples in the community and provided overall services.
There was not any really specific criteria to establish these projects, other than council members' recommendation and votes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McBride and Madam Vice Chair, does that conclude your report?
Well, I just need a vote.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm raising my hand for discussion.
Go ahead.
Just a point, I guess, as a follow-up to Ms. McBride's comments, that looking at, and first commending the committee on all the work that they've done, but my understanding is that, you know, the process that we used wasn't necessarily the process that we'll use forever and ever, amen. And so as we move forward, you know, next year, looking at the process, I think that there are opportunities to establish those criteria. And my impression from the committee members that I've spoken to is that that would be welcome. And so I think that there are opportunities moving forward to make any adjustments that we desire.
Thank you. I was just talking about the decisions that were made for this particular year. So I do appreciate your
Sorry, I apologize, and I took her train and jumped to a different track, so I stand by my comments.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Branham?
I was going to say I'd support a majority of these, but not every one of them, so probably be a no vote.
Discussion. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham?
No.
Pugh?
Yes.
McBride?
No.
Livingston?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Motion approved.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Reconsider.
That item need to be reconsidered?
Yes, Mr.
Entertain a motion for reconsideration.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, take the vote, Madam Clerk.
Branham?
No.
Pugh?
No.
McBride?
Yes.
Livingston?
No.
Weaver?
No.
Barron?
No.
Walker?
No.
Mackey?
No.
English?
No.
Newton?
Yes.
Motion approved. Motion fails.
Next item on the
Mr. Chair.
agenda. You recognize Mr. Pugh.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 20A through E.
Second.
Second.
Well, before the motion is made, allow me to get to that part of the agenda, but I can certainly embrace
apologize,
your
Mr.
eagerness.
Chair.
So next item on the agenda is item 20, other items.
Mr. Chair.
You recognize Councilman Pugh.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 20A through E, and I apologize for my urgency earlier.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
McBride?
Yes.
Livingston?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Newton?
No.
Motion approved.
Items need to be reconsidered.
Second.
Properly second. Any discussion? Ms. Newton, you had your hand in the
Oh,
air.
I thought Ms. English was raising her hand. I was pointing that way.
I'll wait till this one is finished. I didn't know if 18A needed to be reconsidered as well.
Any additional discussion on items 20A through E for reconsideration? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham? Pugh?
No.
McBride?
No.
Livingston? Weaver?
No.
Barron? Walker?
No.
Mackey?
No.
English?
No.
Newton?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Right. Ms. English had a question about item 18. So
Yes.
that needs to be reconsidered?
Yes.
So
For
Ms. English, I'm assuming
reconsideration.
that's your motion for reconsideration. Is there a second? It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham?
No.
Pugh?
No.
McBride? Livingston?
No.
Weaver?
No.
Barron?
No.
Walker?
No.
Mackey?
No.
English?
No.
Newton?
No.
Motion fails.
Next item on the agenda is item 21. Originally, this was item 14B, but it was moved to item 21 on the agenda. And it is an ordinance of the County Council of Richland County, South Carolina, revising the zoning map of unincorporated Richland County, South Carolina, to change the zoning designation for all real property located in the unincorporated areas of Richland County as described herein, and providing for severability and an effective date, and providing for severability and an effective date. That public hearing is now open. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have 9 people that have signed up to speak. I will call 2 names at a time, and please come to the mics. You have to state your first and last name as well as your address. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. And I believe everyone here was here earlier. As far as the rules go, don't ask for money and no cheering or clapping in the audience. Kim Murphy, Les Tweed. Les Tweed?
Mr. Tweed stepped out because I showed him the radar and there's a really bad thunderstorm coming.
Okay, so Ellen Ferreira? Henry Martin? All right, come on down, Mr. Martin. Ms. Murphy, if you would proceed.
Good evening, Kim Murphy, 154 Old Laurel Lane in Chapin. I support the Planning Commission's proposed map that you voted on tonight, which essentially keeps parcels at their same density as they are now. And if there is a desire for a different zoning designation, the rezoning process is still available. I support also that the zoning designation M1 light industrial remain on this map as it is also on the current map, which would allow for the rezoning process if there is a desire for a different zoning designation. I also support all of the Planning Commission's text amendments to the Land Development Code, which are compatible with the map that you approved tonight, and also the Commission's other text amendments, which will, I believe, improve development standards in the entire county. That being said, I'm concerned, as you've heard me mention before, that the process advised by your attorney will only allow you to approve the map portion first, before the proposed text amendments can be implemented in the code. And I implore the body to give more assurance from more council members that there will be an opportunity to debate and hopefully approve all text amendments prior to the effective date of this map. I thank you very much for hearing us, and I really appreciate the time involved that you've spent looking at the amendments, and I hope we'll hear more of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Yes, this is Henry Martin. I live at 124 Winding Road in Irmo. And we've come out here, spoke before. I'm sure some of you recognize me. Some of you have gotten emails from me on this subject. And I have expressed my concerns to the PR department and stuff like that. And I know there's going to be some work coming on there, but the communication on this has not been very good. I'm not happy with the way the meetings have gone. They're not explained very well. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, and it's very difficult to understand some of this. And I got involved in this when I read the original LDC code and this one, and it's 500 and something pages. And I congratulate each one of you for having read all of that and understanding it, so that as you go through that, you can make good decisions. I've also been involved in the discussions with the Planning Commission on the things that they put into the time and the people that they took input from. And I know that's why you do that, is to take that input so that when they come before you, you know that you've gotten a second or third people to look at that. And I hope that you take all of those decisions and things that they put out there to you. And then how we got to this map problem, I have no clue, but it doesn't feel right. And I expressed that to several people here, to Rick. I'm not supposed to say people's names, sorry. But I've said that to other people, and it's not a very good feeling that we have out here. So one of your things that you have that you've proposed in some of your group messages over the county is that you're building trust, that you want to build, accountability and that thing with the public. And I'm just here to tell you that you have not in this process. Now, granted, it has gone down in a certain way with COVID and gone through, some of you council people weren't even involved with it before. And so it's been a long process. And I know that Mr. Walker said he wanted to get this done before the end of the year. And I hope we don't rush one of the most important decisions in the county in the last 10, 20 years to a point where we're making decisions based on what is best practices that come about in other places, not in Columbia. This is Richland County, South Carolina. So I thank you very much for listening, and I hope you take the PC comments and the text amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Next is Regina Ferreira. Okay. Mark Hirschberger.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa Borden.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you very much for letting me come back. I've watched this process evolve. My name is Mark Hirschberger. My wife and I have lived for 42 years.
If you would state your address as well.
15 Sweet Bay Drive. We've watched this process evolve. I have been very appreciative of the work done both by council and the Planning Commission in dealing with some really very tough issues. What I ask of you this evening, as members of the council, please take advantage of the hard work done by Planning Commission in dealing with intricate issues involving a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of people. At your earliest opportunity, get those recommendations enacted so that the administrative process, the adoption of the map, which upon advice of council is part of getting the LDC amended, is occurring concurrently with the substantive part. You all both have to get your work accomplished at the same time. You have a lot of people in dozens of established neighborhoods all over the county who are relying upon you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Lisa Borden, 116 Rideout Point Road, Irmo, South Carolina. Thank you for letting me speak tonight, and I'm going to be really fast because there's a really bad thunderstorm front coming through. County Administrator Brown said that Richland County residents and businesses owners have told us that transparency and communication are important to them. Council restarted the code and zoning map amendment process in order to provide more opportunities to participate in the process, and thank you for that. The Planning Commission did an excellent job obtaining input from the citizens and stakeholders over the past 2 years. The zoning map and the ledger items, or code amendments, or now revisions, are the resulting documents that balance the needs of citizens and future development. I ask that the County Council members approve the zoning map, which you've done tonight, thank you, and the code amendments revisions as they go together hand in hand based on 2 years of input from stakeholders and citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Clay Chappelle. And I believe this is Ben Wojcinski. Are you Clay or are you?
No, I'm Ben.
All right, Ben. Is Clay Chappelle? Clay Chappelle. All right, floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Ben Wilsinski. I reside at 187 Gardenbrook Drive in Irmo, and I work in downtown Columbia with the Building Industry Association. Thank you all for your time tonight and your consideration. We do applaud the council, planning commission, staff for all their efforts in cleaning up the zoning maps and text. We look forward to working with all of you in this process as it moves forward. As was said by others, it's a very important issue. We're certainly looking forward to getting this resolved and moving forward. The timeline that was addressed earlier, I agree. I was here for the June 27th meeting when the map was in the DNS meeting. And the effective date of May 7th, 2024 was mentioned there. I was not here for the work session, July 11th. The timeline for approving was December 23rd, as pointed out by the chairman. That does seem, it could be a little rushed. I was not there for that, so I don't understand all the intricacies there. I'm sure there are reasons. It should not be rushed, of course. This is a huge document that needs to be looked at, and the map and the text all together at one time. So I agree that timing is important. I know you guys like to get things done as quickly as you possibly can, but we definitely need to be careful what we're doing here. Again, from our point of view, the development community, if we can start working together and achieve some collaboration between the county and developers, we can build a fair and equitable future for all residents while maintaining a high quality of life. I believe everyone is aware that there's currently a housing shortage in our area due to a number of factors: workforce, supply chain, permitting, and other time delay instruments, and that helps to lend to less affordable housing in our area. We believe that using implements such as cluster development, more density, a mix of different housing types, that would help lead to more affordability for all the residents in our area. In this rezoning process, please take into account the larger picture and the time and the key to creating a community that we can be proud of for years in the future must start with responsible and thoughtful planning between developers and officials to make Richland County a place everyone can enjoy and succeed in. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, that concludes all individuals that signed up to speak this evening.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Next item on the agenda, public hearing is now closed. Next item on the agenda is item 22, executive session, which takes us back to items 8A, personnel matter involving a county attorney's contract, and item 8C, MPG Arden LLC versus Richland County et al. Road closure petition, and item 8D, the Alvinus Glen Detention Center update. So at this time, I entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes?
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Executive session. It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion?
Ready for one to adjourn yet? Oh, not yet, okay.
Oh, no.
I messed with you.
All right, any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride. Yes. Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, let the record reflect that we went into executive session regarding items, what appear on the agenda is item 18, not 18, I'm sorry, 8, item 8. 8A, 8C, and 8D pursuant to South Carolina Code 30-4-70. We received information on those items along with some legal advice, and no action was taken.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize Councilman Brennan?
thank you. As to item 8C, which is MPG Arden LLC versus Richland County, I move to direct the county attorney to inform the court in that case that Richland County does not object to the portion of Old Dutch Fork Road that is the subject of this case.
Second.
Second?
Properly,
And
just, okay, what's been properly second, it's in discussion now, so now that we're in discussion, let's hear it.
I've got a lot of
Listen,
birdies.
Mayor.
I got a lot of birdies on my shoulder here.
I'm listening, so go ahead.
Mr. Wright, as the motion was presented, would you prefer that I amend it to use a word other than direct?
Well, I would just say that, move that county council does not oppose the road closing. And so that'll be on the record, and that can be presented to the court.
Okay, so a motion that the county council agree that we do not oppose the road closure. That's a portion of Old Dutch Fork Road. That's up in District 1 in my area.
Well, Councilman Brandon, let me just intervene. Should the motion just say you move for council to support the road closure petition, whatever that is?
I think we should just keep doing this, like, all night.
Let me get in with that.
Yeah, who else wants to put, it's a road closure case here. I hadn't read the case myself, and so I wasn't sure, like, the parameters of the road closure, but I just wanted to voice that it was a portion of Old Dutch Fork Road and not the entire road, so I didn't alarm my constituents out there in District 1.
So,
there's a motion in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to second that?
Well, Mr. Wright, would it be fair to say, move for council to support the closure of Old Dutch Fork Road as
Presented in the petition
as presented in the petition?
by MPG Arden LLC.
Okay. You want to say all that, Councilman Brown?
I just want to adopt what was just said as my motion.
Okay, second. Discussion, no further discussion. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
What was the motion again? I'm sorry.
Hey.
Yes.
Pugh, McBride. Yes. Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, next item on the agenda, motion period, which is item 23, no motions. Item 24, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, hurry up and take this vote.
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston, Weaver,
Yes.
Barron,
Absolutely.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Adjourned.